Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Coffee Solo audio program. Today is July 5th, 2026. We're recording at 9:41 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time here in Greater Vegas, making this episode 2026070501, 2026-0705, July 5. Any other ways I can say it? I don't know. First episode of the day. Today's title, I have a title and I have a couple of bullet items. Happy 5th of July. Everybody says happy 4th, but come on. Why not be happy every other day as well? Happy 5th of July. Everybody made it. I did. The fireworks, the local fireworks, the illegal fireworks perhaps, were going until after midnight, about maybe 200 yards away from my bed. I happen to live very near a park. Production by the street. I happen to live very near a park. It's a special park. It's got sports fields, baseball diamonds or softball diamonds, a skate park, etc. And so in the parking lot of that park, someone was launching some fireworks until the wee hours. Good times. I am no longer really excited by fireworks. I've been there, done that, if you will. I said something yesterday. I was 50 years ago, I was in New Jersey, where I am from, for the bicentennial. That was more fun. I have no idea what the politics of the day were. There may have been as much drama or divisiveness, who knows? But 50 years ago, it was fun. We went and saw fireworks. There was a parade. Our next door neighbor was I think he was a fire chief. So there was some fire department affiliation and all the good stuff. So it was fun back then. Now it just seems like another thing that's an unnecessary headache. In addition to that, I would personally like to see a celebration for the Constitution being, fully ratified and the actual country and its government and form of government and all that having been sorted out in 1789. So 1776 is that's when we broke up with the Declaration of Independence was officially, I think it was signed on the 2nd or something like this, but the 4th of July is the day. So that's like saying, yay, we're breaking up, and then you start dating someone else in 1789 and you're like, yeah, we've been dating since 1776. No. So I think celebrating the Declaration of Independence is fine, but it's not truly the commencement of the form of government we are barely hanging on to today. So I'm not totally on board with celebrating this. If you want to call it Independence Day, which, by the way, it often is called that, then it's the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, thus Independence Day, not the birth of our country. So, my minor complaint. Anyway, the things in Vegas could have gone worse, I suppose. Let me remind you that wherever you found this audio program, you're able to locate the episode description, hopefully, which contains the show notes. The summary is as brief as possible. And then the links there's nothing new. It's the same links as always, and that's it. So let's get on with it. The summary that I've created, we made it, mostly without fires, but not entirely, is a reference to the fact that illegal fireworks are a big thing here in Vegas. Now, you can purchase fireworks. They're not, there's limitations on what you can buy. I don't know if you're able to buy airborne. Like, you're not supposed to be able to put on your own, 200-foot tall fireworks show. So I think it's mostly sparklers and firecrackers and things like this. So noise and near ground lights. I don't even know if Roman candles are legal. Like I said, I'm not totally into fireworks anymore. So, although I will point out something that I'll mention in a moment. I don't want to jump into the first, so now I'm in a conundrum. So the links are the usual links. Ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/DanHugo/posts is where you'll find this episode first published, as with all the previous episodes. This program is named for the platform. I used to publish it there exclusively. Now it is published here on Ko-fi.com if you're listening there. Ko-fi.com/DanHugo/posts is where it's published first, and then it is published through the usual places, through the usual channels 2 hours later or so. So the Coffee Solo does not have a homepage other than Ko-fi.com. So I publish it on my vanity website, danhugo.com, a domain I've had for quite a long time. And the website is still in need of some beautification, but I don't believe I'm getting any web traffic, so nobody's really suffering too much. The profile page linking everything, buymeacoffee.com/danhugo, has links to all of the places where you can find all of my programs. In addition, there is the Buy Me an Update audio program, similar deal, published first at buymeacoffee.com/danhugo/posts, and then 2 hours later published everywhere else. That's the Monday morning 5-minute rundown on the previous week's audio program topics and any news and announcements upcoming, whereas Coffee Solo has no schedule and no particular focus or agenda. That's it. Pardon me. Great. I didn't fill up my water thingy. Anyway, what was I going to say about fireworks? No, I totally forgot what I was going to say. Greater Vegas believes itself to be a global innovation hub, yet we have no shortage of idiots operating their own fireworks shows every year. Reportedly, this from the communications person at the Las Vegas Fire Department, 106 outside fires and 14 building fires between 6 p.m. last night, so that's the actual 4th of July, and 4 a.m. this morning. I guess that's when some people stopped launching fire, so I got lucky. I think it was more like 12:30 or 1 a.m. There were 0 burn injuries, though, as far as has been reported, so I guess that's something, and that's sort of amazing when you think about it. I did remember what I was going to say. So Las Vegas loves fireworks, and I think there were 15 separate high altitude, as in they were launching them from the plaza, for example, downtown. If you're familiar with Back to the Future, you know what the plaza is. But the plaza was supposed to have a really big show. There were several others. So I think it was 15 shows around the greater Vegas area, essentially Clark County, close to Vegas. So I say greater Vegas, and I often make it, a synonym for Clark County. In this case, greater Vegas would be some of the part of the place that you think is Las Vegas, if you're not here, the Strip and so on. These are places that are not in the city of Las Vegas, but they all answer to Las Vegas when you call them. They're governed by Clark County, so they're an unincorporated Clark County, for example. So Greater Vegas in this case would be the places where people hang out and associate with Vegas. Clark County is big, relatively big, and there are places where there were no fireworks and so on. So yeah, the greater Vegas area, but sort of closer in to the Strip, say. So one time, many years ago, I was at the Trump Tower of all places, and it was 4th of July, and we watched if you get a high enough room in any resort, you can pretty much see many fireworks shows going off around the city or around the county, I guess. So that was pretty cool. So that was like the most different thing. Seeing fireworks from above is kind of fun. I'm trying to think if when I was flying a lot for Intel, when I was traveling all the time, I don't think I caught a fireworks show from in the air. I might have, but it might have been so quick that it wasn't really. But if you're sitting in a building and you're several stories up, if you happen to be above the fireworks height, then it is actually an unusual experience. So I got to see that, I guess, once. And again, there were, as you look across in the distance, right, and the building, the room was facing south. So because of where Trump Tower is, you're actually getting a pretty decent look at the other shows going on in the area. So we were able to see fireworks shows. Oh, look at that over there. Oh, that one's kind of cool over there. Oh, that one. Okay. So I'm sure last night was crazy. I'm sure many, many dollars were spent on many shows that were going crazy. What is it? Was the Washington, D.C. event, was that $800,000 individual fireworks apparently were used to create the show. Oh, okay, cool. I'm reading right now. I just started reading the original Fourth Turning. I read The Fourth Turning Is Now by one of the two co-authors. The other co-author of the original book has passed away. So The Fourth Turning Is Now was published in 2023, I think it was. The original Fourth Turning is it from the 90s? I should be able to tell you that. Fourth Turning. Not The Fourth Turning Is Now. The Fourth Turning, American Prophet. Oh, 97. Okay. Neil Howe and William Strauss. So Neil Howe did the follow-up book. William Strauss passed away. Anyway, it is an interesting theory. And, you can look at actual events and how they kind of line up in time and this recurring cycle and all this stuff, the saeculum and the different phases of life and the Gen X, Gen Z, the millennials in between there, boomer, all that stuff. How it's like a cycle of recurring and how these recurring characteristics and so on. Totally interesting book. I recommend. Actually, the Fourth Turning Is Now was very interesting. The Fourth Turning, the original book, seems to be getting into, I don't know, like a little bit more detail. It's hard to say, but yeah, they're talking about, or in the book, the topics are things like when the country was formed, and because it's kind of Western leaning. There is a global view of the so-called saeculum and all that, which originated in Rome. It's a long life, usually 80 to 100 years, and a turning, if you are in the fourth turning, is the fourth phase of a saeculum, which is what we're supposedly in now, and that's when there's a crisis, and usually a big war. And so if you go back in time, like World War II or the Revolutionary War and stuff, so from a Western perspective, it seems to line up. Very interesting. So in the book, there's a reference to, and I got to go back and see like what the details are of this. They make a reference to boxing the ears of kids, which is, you should never do that, but boxing the ears of children in, I think it was in France during maybe it was the French Revolution, like the celebration of or something. The reason being, you want the children to remember this. And so they will remember this painful experience, which will be associated with the event they're celebrating. So like, oh yeah, we were celebrating American or French freedom from the war, whatever it was. I got to go back and see what that was again, because that seemed unusual. But the analogy is made that things like fireworks shows and even statues, you know how people say, oh, that's our history. Fireworks are intended to remind you, by being memorable, you associate the memory with this extreme stimulation, I guess, the very loud noises and bright lights and ooh and ah. Ah, yes, American independence. Remember that? So I thought that was very interesting. I'd never really thought of it that way, that the grandeur of these celebrations is intended not only to be the celebration, but to leave a memory in young people so that it's not lost to history, right? You can, and part of the thing that's kind of spelled out in this whole turning idea is that as people age through life phases and whatnot, there's the memory of a war or the what led up to it or what came after it can fade, and then you end up with doing it again. Those who do not remember history are condemned to repeat it, if I could paraphrase George Santayana. That quote gets sort of tweaked all the time, so it's close enough for today. So yeah, I'm impressed though that there was 0 burn injuries. There do seem to be some. There's always people getting injured and worse in fires. There was an apartment fire recently. I can't remember if anyone didn't make it out. As I may or may not have mentioned, I live in Vegas today because of a house fire we had in Sunnyvale, California. So It seemed like a good enough time to change the venue a little bit. Like, oh, that was fun. Let's move to another city. And I figured I could always move back to Phoenix, but I already know that doesn't work. So Vegas was it. And I don't know. I don't know if that was a good idea or not. We'll see. We'll see what we can make of it. I'm going to pause for a second. All right, we're back. I don't know. I got my voice is doing better today than it has been this week, which is good. And we'll see if that can stay through this episode. Stay true. Yeah, making changes, like trying to make the most of my time here in Vegas. So I moved here when it was the downtown project thing was going on, and then I started working for Intel. So I was in town enough to be a sort of an intimate spectator. Like I could be a part of the downtown project activities, but I was never part of the downtown project because I was never here. And also, I mean, I was working for Intel. I was not pursuing my startup dreams and all this stuff. So it was an interesting way to experience the downtown project, kind of not in the inner circle, but in an outer circle, but not completely outside as a complete spectator, if that makes sense. So there are several things about the greater Vegas area and its population that I think could use some modernization. Vegas is a very unusual culture. I've done an entire episode of Cafe Genius Impresarios about the fact that it's Production by Street. The fact that it's just evolved as an extraction culture. Nevada was like really not founded because of, but silver mining has been a big thing, and now lithium mining might be the next big thing if there's enough water to do it. Nevada was on the way to California, so trade routes and people just heading back and forth in general, commuting, which took a lot longer back then. So Nevada was a gateway of sorts, and then you develop the tourism industry from that. So okay. So when it comes to things like education and cultivating, like agriculture here is very hard because of the drought. It's an arid place. We are in the desert, the Mojave Desert, in fact. So southern Nevada, anyway. So not that there's zero crops. It's not like a big sandy expanse for as far as you can see. There are crops. I believe there are nowhere near enough eggs. For example, there's not nearly enough chicken farming or egg farming or whatever you would call that. So that prices of eggs in southern Nevada tend to be among the highest in the country when they are high. And yeah, I mean, they're still probably high, but not by as much. So during the great egg apocalypse, the prices of eggs here were insane. And because we don't really grow eggs here, we don't have the chickens here. There are chickens and there are cattle are popular. I mean, they're a ranch. I don't know if you do cattle crops. There is cattle ranching here, but chickens and making of eggs, not so much. Other vegetables and so on. I think I read somewhere that onions are popular here. You know what? I bet we can pull up what are the crops and farms in southern Nevada. Not that northern Nevada doesn't count, but transportation costs start going up as you go farther away. So let's see. Despite the arid climate, local organizations grow crops like tomatoes, zucchini, citrus, and leafy greens. But I think this is on a very small scale, like farmers market style. So urban agriculture and especially low water usage urban agriculture is a thing here. There is the Nevada Farm Bureau. I'm going to bookmark that. Indoor agriculture is very, very, there's an indoor ag show, indoor.ag. I think it's coming up in, I just looked this up. I think it's in somewhere like in September or something. I should look it up. I'll tell you right now. Indoor ag is coming up. Oh, I'm sorry. We missed it for this year. It's March 24th through 25th in 2027. So that's kind of a big deal here. The USDA has a whole Nevada page that says we grow things here. Anyway, the reason I'm saying this is that there's not zero agriculture, but the extraction economy, gaming, entertainment, tourism in general, That's what Vegas excels at. So the desire to make it into an innovation hub, for example, is kind of curious to me because the culture just doesn't exist yet at scale. What? There's no innovation in Nevada? No, that's not what I'm saying. But the culture of innovation is a little tricky, and that's something that needs work. And people believe that you just have an event once a month with free food, and that's the culture of innovation right there. Right now, no. And also, some people believe that a culture of innovation is company based or schools and so on. So the way I describe it is, if you can walk up to any person in Southern Nevada and say, what do you think Southern Nevada is known for? And if they say, oh, innovation or new technologies or biomedical research, then maybe you're making progress. But pretty much, and you can think of it yourself, you're gonna hear a lot of gambling. Professional sports is the new one. They're pouring a lot more effort into promoting the future of professional sports in Nevada, Southern Nevada, than anything else. The biomed stuff. There is a medical district. There are a couple of medical schools or other, like the medical space and healthcare sciences and healthcare technology development and innovation. Those are happening. But the thing that gets the most attention today probably is the A's, the stadium that they're building, the Super Bowl for 2029, I believe it is. Super Bowl Vegas 29. Is that correct? Let me check that for you right here. So we're staying on facts. Super Bowl Las Vegas 2029. Yeah, February 29 in Las Vegas. Apparently officially hosting the Super Bowl. Super Bowl, what is that? LX3, which LX111. I. So it's 63. Okay. So February 29. Good to know. So that gets attention. The Formula One race deal has been extended to another 10 years. There's going to be a basketball expansion team here, apparently. There's a lot of interest in that, and the property to build yet another, what is basketball played in, an arena? That's happening now. And at no time will you get anywhere near that amount of coverage for local innovation, for inventions, for technology development, unless you receive a tremendous amount of funding, for example. So TensorWave is the favorite in the tech space. And since there's the one, it will get all of the attention all the time. So they're in the circular economy of data centers and AI and all that crap. So I don't have confidence in TensorWave for the long haul. We live in a place that has a existential water crisis looming on the horizon. And people literally, you'll read comments. If there's a news article about something, or if there's comments enabled, people say, oh, whatever, water. They always say this every year. Well, the problem is they say it every year when it's a huge problem. And then maybe there's some snow or rain. Southern Nevada is particularly good at recovering runoff, snow melt, etc. So it gets to Lake Mead, which is our primary reservoir for Southern Nevada. Lake Mead serves California. It serves other places. We're in the part of the Colorado River Basin water negotiations that are ongoing right now. The Colorado River is not going to be providing as much water year over year into the future. So the future of water recovery is going to be like dune scale, but people don't worry about it because they don't report on it. I always make this statement. If you want to know what the temperature is outside, you can find that out at the snap of a finger. If you visit any of our news websites, there'll be a little weather bug up in the corner, right? Oh, it's 190 degrees today with sun or clouds or rain forecast. And that doesn't happen. Doesn't happen enough. But if you want to find out what the level of water is, you can find it, but people don't talk about it every day. I always tell people, you can look out your window and see if it's cloudy or raining, and you can probably stick your hand out and see if it's hot, right? But you cannot tell how much water is in Lake Mead by looking out your window, unless you live at Hoover Dam, maybe. But you don't know, and because the water always comes on in your bathroom or kitchen or wherever, there's really no sense. You have no tangible status that you can just see every day. They always say like gas prices are so effective at driving people's confidence in the economy because you drive by them, you walk by them, you go fill up your car sometimes, maybe more than once a week. So these are numbers that are in your face all the time. The same should be true of water levels. So there's a 3-year plan that has been, a strategy document has been published by the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance. And it suggests that in the next 3 years, they want to start focusing, completely and totally on the economic diversification efforts, which have been a topic of conversation since 2018, actually longer than that. But 2018, there was a concerted effort. Then there was the pandemic, kind of threw things off. So now, the next 3 years, we're going to bring in health tech, fintech, financial services and whatnot, and nebulous technology, whatever that means. And they're not really clear in that document, which is kind of humorous to me because I guess from some perspectives, any technology is good enough, right? Fintech, sports health or something, basically healthcare and sports and fitness and whatnot. So UFC is here. They're really behind that, as are others. So fintech, what's the other one? There's, advanced manufacturing, which to me seems like the most reasonable given the fact that Southern Nevada is a leading player in the space of water conservation and sustainability, right? So manufacturing can, depending on what you're making, be resource intensive. So this is a great place to say, hey, you know what? We can't use water when we're manufacturing things. So we have to keep that to a minimum. But what they're proposing is that just have an increase in population. You cannot reskill or upskill a workforce in 3 years, right? So the companies that would move here in the next 1 to 3 years, or even soon after, they're not going to have a talent pool to hire from. Maybe eventually, but no. So they might have to bring in people from other places. Whatever the case. Well, so if you bring in people from other places, you're going to increase the population, which everybody thinks is, kind of a given over the next, say 5 years. I think it's by 2030. So that's 4 years, 3.5. Was it 2030? They think it's going to be 3 million people in Clark County. That's possible. We're at 2.4 million now, but we're going to have less water by then than we have now. So the rocket scientists that are putting this stuff together think, well, whatever, we'll solve that problem down the road. But it's like, well, the road is shorter than the road you're thinking of being on to do all this diversification effort. So it makes me, first of all, it makes me concerned, of course, because I like drinking water. It's one of my favorite things to drink. However, I don't think anyone else is thinking this way. They think these things are just going to magically get themselves sorted out because they have been thus far. Because the numbers are not in your face every day. Oh, it's not like I have a computer weather thingy on my computer monitor, a thingy. No, it checks open weather and it tells me the weather for my specific area of Las Vegas. I have another display over there. It says it's 94. I have one here on my computer, 93. So okay, it's somewhere in there. There you go, 93 degrees. At nowhere around me. Nowhere on the news, nowhere on what do you call it, a chyron across the bottom of us. There's nothing that says, oh, by the way, water is down another 1% today. So it's not in your face. It's not being, and you can go into any grocery store and there's bottles and bottles of water, which is insane. So I don't know what's going to happen over the next 3 years. Board of directors. We do have three directors on our board now for the Innovate for Vegas Foundation. So that's nice. As expected, one is a former colleague of mine from Intel, Martin, is in Orange County, and another person I met through LinkedIn when I posted hey, we're looking for directors, volunteer basis, no pay whatsoever on LinkedIn. So he's in the education field in Denver. His name's Russell. So no one in Vegas interested in participating in this. That's the usual state of affairs, which is humorous to me. Global Hub of Innovation. Would you like to be involved in the Innovate for Vegas Foundation? Nope. So we had our annual board meeting right at the last minute. So it was on Friday. What was that? The 27th? What was Friday? That was 26. Yeah, 26. 26th of June, we had our annual board meeting, the one we had all year because there was only me on the board. So we're basically now entering the year of rebuilding and taking some big swings. So so we're about to find out. So now I got to really come through on all this stuff I've been sort of putting off, because there was a point, or I guess there was like a threshold where I would figure maybe this is just not going to go anywhere. So maybe I'll just back off completely. We'll kind of put it on hiatus, not shut down the nonprofit, but just kind of back burner it for a while, see what we can come up with and rejig. But we got 2 board members. We have 3 now. So that was kind of the target minimum. And we have some ideas that I will get to in a moment. Like there's one thing to say about LinkedIn between, and then we'll get to the other stuff. So now is the opportunity to say, oh, okay, so I guess we will, well, since Hail Mary is Project Hail Mary is a big thing now, kind of a Hail Mary. We got to see if people are actually going to jump on board with this or not. Sorry, I had to pause there. And I already know that the city of Las Vegas is having its own issues with this regard. They stopped promoting the whole, we're the next Silicon Valley, we're a global innovation hub, mostly because of the Badlands legal settlement, which cost a lot of money that they had to pay to some developer. I haven't been tracking the details, but I can't remember if it was Clark County and, let's take a look. Badlands settlement, city of Las Vegas. So February of 2025. Okay, so that was paid out probably. So the total settlement for the city of Las Vegas was $286 million. I think the total with Clark County was somewhere in the $300 million. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. It was a $636 million settlement, which is costing city taxpayers $286 million. So if you ever want to look at the Badlands, it's literally Badlands, Badlands. The settlement was, okay. So they purchased the property from the Badlands. It was the Badland Golf Club, and then they're selling it for housing development for $350 million. So there's a $286 million gap that has to be paid for. Well, I guess it's already been paid for. So property purchased and then sold, the difference, $286 million loss to the city of Las Vegas. So $250 million has been paid in the settlement, and then already, which basically took the legs out from under any of these. We're going to be the next big, what? Oh, we have no money? Okay. I'm not laughing at that fact. I'm laughing at the way they deal with this, which is to just sort of quietly stop talking about things. Sad day, I saw that the Innovate.Vegas, which is not affiliated with Innovate for Vegas, Innovate.Vegas, which was essentially the innovation centers and whatnot, no longer a website. The domain will expire later, but they've taken the site down, and the property itself, the actual co-work space that used to be the International Innovation Center, which is where we used to hold our monthly hackathon meetups for the Innovate for Vegas Foundation for free. That has been handed over to Startup NV, which is not an entity that I would ever do business with. So that's done. So Innovate.Vegas is done. And I heard directly that after the Badlands settlement, there's just not going to be as much spending towards these things. So at the same time, the city has no money. The Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance is saying, oh yeah, over the next 3 years, we're going to try to bring in all this innovation. And okay, so they really can't focus on the startup sector so much as existing business, existing companies, existing revenue generators, bringing people to the area, even though there's no water. And the water situation will get worse over the next 3 years. So this is one of those things, like I said, it's kind of disjoint. Though actually I've done an entire episode of Cafe Genius Impresarios that there's a lack of coherence and cohesion. Coherence in the plan, cohesion of the messaging and the plan. So a cohesive presentation on what's actually happening doesn't seem to exist in a useful way because the plans behind that don't seem to be coherent. So the fun economy, the economic diversification efforts, and the startup and small business ecosystem, if you like, the future of water, you can't really mess with physics, right? So if there's no water, there's no water. So you can't assume it. So building more homes, is an interesting way to to address the water problem. I always say bring your own water, so hopefully they will. Hang on a second. Sorry, another pause there. I think I'm going to start saying when I pause, sometimes I would just pause, like if I have to cough or get some water or something. But when I pause and then I come back, when I do the post-processing, which is basically truncating silence, sometimes there's like an audible cut point, even though it's not really a cut. It's really just the effect of pausing, right? There's a different ambient noise, if you like, and then the way I'm talking perhaps will be different. So anyway, paused. Now we're back. So yeah, we did our thing. We're going to see what's going on with the city or the region, Greater Vegas, over the next year, and we'll see what we can do. The LinkedIn situation is just simply not getting any better. I think it's getting actually much worse. I'm giving up on LinkedIn for utility. I don't really get anything out of it anymore. I stopped posting personal information to LinkedIn, so I don't really post things like, hey, I'm working on it. No more. So I just reshare from our LinkedIn pages. We have a LinkedIn page for Innovate for Vegas Foundation. We have a LinkedIn page for Cafe Genius. We've had one this year for Smart City Vegas, which is our various efforts in that direction, which I'll get to in a moment. Our Innovate for Vegas page has over 1,000 followers now after, into our 5th year now. And essentially zero engagement. Nobody actually does anything with what they find there. No likes, no comments. So I started publishing a spreadsheet newsletter. Why did I say spreadsheet? That's weird. I started publishing a newsletter, Innovate for Vegas News, and we have 220 some subscribers or something like this. And we get a reasonable amount of people opening according to the analytics. But I've started putting in some little, like in the middle of the text, I'll say, hey, just to tell us that you're actually reading this, why don't you leave a comment? Just an emoji. You don't have to do anything but one character in the comments on this newsletter. Nothing. So it's not even clear that people are reading the newsletter if they even look at it. So generally speaking, the LinkedIn silo is not good. And I'll tell you why. I mean, I have actual proof. These are indicators. But the LVGEA publishes their strategy document on their website. That's fine. It's kind of tucked away. I don't think it's on there. Is it on their homepage? They published it towards the end of June. I think it was like the 2 weeks before the end. Maybe, what does that mean? It means like, say the 20th or something like this. That's not worth it. Okay. So lvgea.org. Let's see what's on their homepage. Get to know the real Las Vegas. Okay. Same homepage. Las Vegas Valley, get a competitive edge, learn why industry leaders are choosing Las Vegas, come for the fun, stay for the future. Yeah, they don't have regional partnership was a while ago. Yeah, they don't have anything on the homepage about their strategy document having been published. So in order to find this strategy document, you have to know it exists. Then you have to go to the About window or About menu. 2026 Strategic Plan is the second menu item. That to me is strange, but okay. So I already went through it first pass in a newsletter for Cafe Genius. I did it 2 weeks ago, and nobody cares. So nobody's going to read that or interact with it. I prefer to think of it as a receipt that I can point to later, but it's not great. And like I said, they got a 3-year plan that basically the word water is mentioned 9 times, but it's usually diminished. And what I'm seeing is that people will treat weakness as potential strength. We don't have any talent pool for the industries that we're suggesting, but that's just an opportunity for growth. So yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, I hate to be cynical, but somebody has to be. So I don't know what's going to come of that. I think it's interesting. So then there was a paper published by a professor who's the finance chair in the Lee Business College at UNLV. I've connected with him on LinkedIn. I also connected with the co-author of the paper, who was I think he got his master's degree, or he's going to get it, but he was affiliated with the school, and he also works at a bank, like JP Morgan or something. So, not just a teller or something. And so the two of them wrote a paper that was basically, they called it a white paper. It's basically a position paper advocating for the transformation of Las Vegas into a financial center. And it does nothing but motivated reasoning. And once again, even though we have only 0.89% of the total financial, of all the finance centers, or anything that could consider itself a finance center, our GDP in the space is 0.89% of the overall GDP associated with financial centers. I think that's the gist of it. So we got nowhere to go but up. So even though New York and San Francisco and all this, and then some of the examples are a little bit hinky, San Francisco and Silicon Valley are treated as different, but they are kind of interlinked. So I thought that was curious, but just a tremendous amount of motivated reasoning. And at one point it says that it could be a finance center instead of the fun economy. That's paraphrasing. The take home could easily be, wait, you want to replace the tourism industry with finance? And I don't think that's what they really mean, because that's sort of silly. But anyway, this was published in a post on a LinkedIn personal news feed for the professor, and then I think it was reshared by the co-author. I connected with the co-author. I've connected with the professor previously. It doesn't respond. Connected to the co-author, master's in finance. And I said, hey, I'm curious to know what's going on with this paper. I said, was there a SWOT analysis by any chance? He never really answered. And he said, we should go get a coffee sometime. That's never going to happen. We already know that. That's what people in Vegas do. SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So you basically create a little grid and you put, so you are accounting for these things during a conversation about such as, does it make sense to transform Greater Vegas into a hub, finance hub, or otherwise? I mean, a tremendous amount of money is being spent in the fun economy space, and they're trying to recover their tourism numbers, to whatever end that will bring people. But at the same time, they want to risk gentrifying the area and come up against existential limits on resources that are essential for survival. So I don't know if both hands know what one hand knows what the other is doing, so to speak. So it's very curious, and I think that's going to be a challenge coming. So the take home is that if you didn't come across the paper because you're following the right people on LinkedIn, you may never have seen that this notion has been floated. Now, I don't think it has a real chance of being a major focus as part of the overall 3-year strategy. FinTech, financial technologies, sure. But is this going to become the next Wall Street? They even say in the paper that's not likely, but it could be a niche. Okay, we'll make it a niche. Why don't you evolve financial services and FinTech into something that fits into what already exists here in Vegas? Instead, they're like, over the next 3 years. Yeah, okay, 3 years is a nice time window. It's also when the water is going to go away. So my outreach from LinkedIn is generally zero, as in nobody responds to anything. The newsletters get essentially zero, other than the analytics that show people are opening it. I get no interaction, engagement, no comments, no reactions, no responses from newsletters. So I stopped using LinkedIn for my personal engagements. So my personal profile page, that's a lot of P's, on LinkedIn is really, I think the last thing I posted that was actual post was like, I'm not using this anymore. I reshare posts from the Innovation Vegas pages and whatnot. So that's not really personal anymore. I'm just resharing things, and I still like and comment sparingly. But for the most part, I haven't really been using LinkedIn, but a fraction of what I used to since 2023, because I joined LinkedIn in 2003. LinkedIn launched in May of 2003. I joined in August. It used to be a very useful tool. It has become this goofball pile of garbage platform. And the people who use it are not behaving like normal human beings who respond to things. So connection on LinkedIn is essentially worth zero. So I think that, the time has come. August of 2023, it will be my 26. I'm sorry, August of 2026 will be 23 years that I've been on the platform, and its value to me has continued monotonically decreasing over all that time. Not all that time. There was a time when LinkedIn was actually pretty good. Microsoft bought them. I would say that was something of an inflection point, but certainly over the last, 5 years, it's not even close to worthwhile. So the thing I was going to get to eventually over here, CityCamp, the national notion, citycamp.com, is ramping up. The World City Camp Day is 19 September. We're going to have our City Camp Day on that day. It'll be the inaugural City Camp Las Vegas 2026, facilitated by and fiscally sponsored by the Innovate for Vegas Foundation. Something tells me the inaugural Las Vegas event we are facilitating will be a failure. I don't think we'll get any participation. We certainly won't get any support from the city of Las Vegas whatsoever. Will we get support from City of North Las Vegas or Henderson? That remains to be seen. The entire notion of City Camp is to connect people who live in a place with the local government or local services or local business, things like journalists, news outlets, the city staffers, utility, everything, just sort of to bring people out to become aware and to ideate, right? If they have some ideas that they'd like to explore and talk about. It's an unconference, so the actual event itself on the 19th will be determined by people when they get there. So we'll see what happens. We need to have better outreach tools. We have no way of telling people that this event is happening. I'm tired of reaching out to our local journalists, so I don't even do it anymore. It's not worth it. I spent countless hours reaching out to teachers to try to get young people to participate. They don't even bother to respond in any way. So we need to have better outreach tools, and the first step is away from LinkedIn, which is garbage. It is absolutely garbage. Let me not mince words. Garbage. Useless, stinky garbage. It's actually going to be a real problem in Vegas as far as communications in general. Like, how do you share a cohesive plan, even if you don't have one, if the way that you reach people is LinkedIn? The LVGEA publishes their stuff on LinkedIn. City of Las Vegas publishes their stuff on LinkedIn. I got that fire statistic from earlier from a post on LinkedIn. If I wasn't following Jordan Moore, who is in charge of communications for the Las Vegas Fire Department, where would I even go to look for that? I don't know. Let's pick my favorite Channel 8. It's my favorite because I go there all the time, because then I get a consistent feel. Somebody was killed. No, let me check that out. Illegal fireworks suspected in roof fire. 3 injured after vehicle crashed into Las Vegas bus stop. That sucks. I gotta see where that is. Flying out of Harry Reid. This line. Okay, women hospitalized, crashed. Police respond, DUI, mass casualty incident. So there's one article on the front page of the Channel 8 news. Channel 3 is better at covering local small business, I think. But anyway, so Channel 8, I gotta find this. What's this here? So the take home, not a lot of coverage about last night's fire. So if I was not following Jordan Moore on LinkedIn, I may not have learned this information about how relatively safe last night was as far as injuries. So that's a shame. So City Camp will be our precursor event for the Smarter Smart City Challenge, which will go through all year 2027. So we really need to make this visible. Otherwise, we're never gonna encounter any participation. But we will learn quite a bit about whether this is a global innovation hub. And I continue to say that we really need an innovation culture, which means people who are doing their thing every day still know that there's innovation in Vegas. That gaming is important, but there are people that are pursuing really creative ideas, inventing things, and so on. Now, some people may believe that I'm suggesting there's no innovation in Vegas. I just sort of, debunked that just now. What I tell people is that people don't pay attention to it. It doesn't get the recognition, it doesn't get the press coverage, doesn't get the attention of the larger Greater Vegas population. So again, in Silicon Valley, for example, people knew that there was this stuff going on, right? They didn't have to be a part of it, but they knew it was happening, and it was certainly affecting their cost of living, which is something that people don't pay attention to. The Greater Vegas area is going to be at an interesting time from now until when the water crisis gets addressed, and it may not be. So whatever happens between now and when the final reckoning is upon us for water, and maybe we solved it in 5 years. We're going to have underground tunnels thanks to Elon Musk or whatever. We could be working on desalinization plants here, and then bring seawater from California, maybe like pipes, or who knows, right? What's the big giant master plan? They're talking about building more housing. They're not talking about how they're going to have more water here for people to drink. So that's it. So maybe City Camp would be an opportunity for someone with a creative idea for water, coming up with water. There's a joke that Bill Hicks would tell. He said, they keep talking about the drought in California, that, it rained, but it didn't help the drought. He said, I got news for you. If rain doesn't help your drought, DuPont is not coming up with some magical gel that's going to fix it for you. So yeah, we need to, that's not totally relevant here because it doesn't even rain much in Vegas, but it's the snow in the winter that is the problem. We didn't get much, and so it didn't melt. And that's been a continuing trend year over year. So people don't talk about it. There's no connection. This is part of the problem. They just don't talk about things. They don't talk about how they're interrelated. And then when they happen, nobody said anything. Like, okay, 3-year strategy to diversify the economy. They're not going to fully diversify it, but they have goals for each year as far as inviting businesses to establish a presence or relocate. They want more higher paying jobs. They want the percentage of low paying hospitality and leisure jobs, leisure and entertainment. They want the percentage of jobs in that sector to go down. Well, the other way you can do that is price people out so they can't live here anymore. Oh, look, there are fewer people getting those low wage jobs. But all this investment in the fun economy, then what? Robots? Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting couple of years. I think the lack of coherence is going to be a problem. I already did an episode of Cafe Genius on a paper that was written about how the successful cities out there have a coherent plan, and they think about how different segments of their overall economy are going to interact with each other, reinforce each other. They're not going to compete against each other, and so on. So it's whether the plan is thought out and implemented well in a coherent fashion, and then describing it to people so they understand what's going on with coherent messaging and connection of the details and so on. And I think Vegas just doesn't do that. So the take-home message. Is there anything else? We're sitting at about almost an hour now. That seems like enough time for talking. Now it's time for working. First, I'm going to go grab some water, and I'm going to turn my... I always tell people, I always turn on all my faucets and just let them run for a while. Although technically, because of where I live and the way water allocations work, I'm probably not using another person's worth of water. So I've been doing my share of conservation by severely underutilizing the water allocated to where I live. So that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Thank you for listening. As always, don't forget to check out all my content links on my buymeacoffee.com/Dan Hugo profile page. You don't have to buy anything, by the way. I usually say that up front. You don't have to spend any money there. That's where the links are. It's a free form profile page for Linktree type stuff. That's it. That's all I got. Take care. Hopefully your 5th of July is the beginning of another fun year of independence and happiness. I don't know. Take care. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.